What's the deal with Jerry Seinfeld? He's not funny, but impressions of him are. It's the one wacky accent besides New York you can do and it gets a laugh every time. I don't do Asian jokes, but I do a really funny racist Asian accent. You see, there was this comedian, Dat Phan, and Dat Phan had what he described as a father who happened to be from Asia, and not only that, but one of the countries you're thinking of. I know India is big this election, but let's remember our brothers and sisters north of the Himalayas. But speaking of the election and racism, Cowboys and Indians ticket is a hilarious name for either party. Either way you go in America, it's Cowboys and Indians 2024. We really did manifest that destiny, didn't we? Are we sure they said trumpets in the Bible or Trump Pence? Have we been living in the rapture? I am the Holy Ghost and Jesus first spoke to me in 2015, so they were back then. Wow. Well, at least it's not the end of the world. Did you know Revelations isn't in all the Bibles? Some people don't even grow up with that. Who is John of Patmos anyway? Some fucking schlub out in the desert? Where the fuck is Patmos? Did the people there have a funny accent like Dat Phan's father? See, one of Dat Phan's best bits was one where his father had a funny accent, and Dat Phan would use said accent to reappropriate classic pickup lines in the equivalent of modern-day minstrelsy. Huge laugh riot. One of the pickup lines was, "Is your dad a thief because I wonder who stole the stars from the skies and put them in your eyes?" Now this line can have a funny accent applied to it without changing a single word, especially if you do it in a Jerry Seinfeld voice. But if you tweak the words just a bit, it becomes even funnier. "What's the deal with your dad? He stole my car, you stole my heart. I can't get a break. Could I get your number?" Hilarious. Note this word change can't be done so easily with most European nations or Muslim countries in America. Too many Europeans on YouTube, not enough knowledge about Muslim culture to change the words. Well, not without getting incredibly racist. Even level of burqa signals that you either think they're all the same or you think you're gonna pick a target. You will most likely miss. Saudi Arabia is your best bet. I don't even know the accent though. "Is your dad a journalist? I want to carry you out in one bag. You're already wearing it." I kid. That was the CIA. Shout out Jamal Khashoggi. You can't do this with all comedians. A Chris Rock impression is literally the main conflict in The Office pilot. Or somewhere in the first season. John Belushi impressions can't even get a laugh when his own brother does it. That joke is dated for real. Bill Cosby impressions make people uncomfortable now. If I was in a room full of women and drinks and said zip zap zoopity bop and rolled my eyes back, everybody's uncomfortable. And I can't do Christopher Walken. Those are funny because of how bad they all are. But the same room full of women, "What's the deal with tampon tag? The men play it with guns and wear pads," knocks them dead, and that would have been a fine way to end that if I hadn't brought up Bill Cosby. Even though a lot of those women woke up later. Not the ones in the room I made up, obviously. They're not real, but comedy is, and funny accents are, wouldn't you agree? Because despite the legacy of Michael Richards, Jerry Seinfeld has not been tarnished in the same way as so many other funny accents. Many are lost to time. Comedy fans like myself have seen hundreds of Andrew Dice Clay impressions, but never seen a Dice Clay set, live or on film. Maybe a clip in a documentary here and there. Hicks and Carlin aren't going to age well. The world has already largely adopted Hicks' thinking, and Carlin laid out his philosophy so early by the end it was mostly topical. He'll be better known as an actor for Bill and Ted and Kevin Smith films. And he just has a New Jersey accent, which is way hotter on the women. Shout out Trash Cat, thanks for showing me the way they do it in the Garden State. Very forceful. But that accent! I don't think I had a pickup line locked and loaded for that one, and if I did I probably wouldn't use a funny accent. However, I do start talking like whoever I'm around. So when I meet people from the South, they think I am too because I start doing the accent without thinking. This is childhood divorce shit. You act one way with mom, one way with dad, one way with Grammy, and one way when you're all alone with your siblings. Then all those have two for happy and mad. So you give them the you that they want, and this all goes away because it's starting all over when I get to the next house. So you start doing it as quickly as possible, and this leads to meeting a Southerner, and then by the time you get to talking to them, well, they're just pleased as punch to meet someone so polite and understand their level of hospitality. This is how I found myself a friend of Greg Dew in Germany. Most everyone was from Kentucky or Indiana and at the base, and he thought he met another Georgia guy. That's how I learned I was doing it. This also happened with my coworker Jake up in Alaska, but I was able to point it out that time. Because that's the thing, right? Accents are a little on purpose and a little innate. You understand how Christopher Walken could end up sounding like that, but Why can't anyone do a good Christopher Walken? Why can't anyone do a good Christopher Walken the way one could an Adam Sandler? It's not hard to Shamaloo! Alright! Because it's not the accent, it's the mannerisms in that impression. And Walken's accent is both. Where he comes from and whatever he's doing, it is something, but it is something. Someone like Ricky Gervais, on the other hand, you take the mannerisms, drop the accent, Emmy-winning comedy. Go ahead, take a Netflix trip if they haven't. Dat Fan's dad is a complete unknown. We just know he hails from China or Japan or Korea or something. I'm not looking it up. Perhaps he's Laotian. Either way, he's got that accent. The one we all know and love. The one from City Walk. And having watched my fair share of K-pop, I am here to say they are leaning into it. They can differentiate L's and R's, and they fuck with you. Listen to LE SSERAFIM's Perfect Night. You'll see what I mean. You'll never be able to call them on it. It's not even sneakiness. Sometimes they aren't paying attention. Other times they're doing it on purpose. Which means this is as good of any time as to mention you shouldn't do that. Then when you fuck up, everyone thinks you meant to do that. Like, even if you were in a tough position, that is your modus operandi. You do that shit all the time. You might need help, but you're always fucking with me. L's and R's are not that big of a deal, but that's why you don't lie, cheat, and steal. No, run the jewels, not everyone's doing it. Everyone's paying attention to the people who do, because they suck. I'm a thief, and while you may not believe me, there is honor among thieves. At least we're not pedophiles. You get rid of those, I might have to amend my behavior. But as long as those people are around, I've got a great distraction and I don't need to change. Ask the Democrats. Speaking of not changing, you know why so many people have settled on the LA way of talking? It's because it's the laziest. They tried to dress it up with Valley Girl and got too lazy. Surfer talk is kind of lazier if you think about it, but then people don't respect you. So then it's just back to this and add a bunch of thes in there and you sound way more important. Which you aren't. We're talking about Dat Fan's dad. From Asia. You might have heard of it. Some of you have posters of it in your room. That one's not going to age well. But Dat Fan's dad is from there, and we know nothing about them. So Dat Fan generalizes this to Asian dad pickup lines. And again, we're getting back to, is your dad a thief? Because I wonder who stole the stars from the sky and put them in your eyes. So Dat Fan rearranges this and goes, your father, I wonder, does he steal things? And honestly, the rest of the bit isn't worth doing, but I can't stop doing that. Or using the slur combining the words for falsch and Gott in German. Falsch Gott. You know, because you're calling someone a false god if they think they could raise your kids better than you. Sometimes the straight parents are the false gods. Sometimes a homo can be a false god, especially in the bedroom if you come up talking that shit. I'm looking for someone who's gonna lick my belly button like the Montero video. Not someone who's gonna give me a shoulder rub talking about how nice I smell, how much they destroy ass, and how much fucking they need me. You know? Ariana Grande is a false god quite literally, and I know for a fact Jesus was a bearded woman. Also, I do the accent when I imitate Jackie Chan Adventures because his uncle would say one more thing a lot, and it's funny to say. As Jackie Chan's uncle would say, one more thing! Hanson and Hanson for President 2024. Oh shit, actually, as Jackie Chan's uncle would say, one more thing! Jerry Seinfeld didn't use what's the deal in his bits. That was somebody making fun of his brand of comedy. And all the impressions just followed from there. So that guy's whole legacy of TV shows, car collecting, touring with stand-up has been reduced to a line he didn't even say. No wonder Jerry Seinfeld is so bitter these days. A lot of comedians be like that, eh? If you do that to me, post the impression on YouTube so I can watch it!